Awesome. So how do you think that went, Ash?
Yeah, it was really interesting. I was
Yeah.
quite impressed by how well she could articulate how she was feeling.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, so I thought that was actually really interesting. Do people normally have that level of insight into how they're feeling and how their family's feeling?
Not really, actually. I think she was actually quite influenced by her religious beliefs, and I think that's really helped her. And I find, in my experience, some people can either be swayed one way or the other. So they can sometimes be really helped by their religious or spiritual beliefs, and sometimes they can be quite hindered by that. Whereas I think her Buddhist beliefs, I guess really, I don't know too much about Buddhism, and it's something I'm actually going to look into, but it's really helped her to believe that her daughter's gone on to a better place.
Yep.
And she might actually be able to convey that to her grandchildren and things as well as part of their grief journey. So, but did you have any other questions or anything?
Well,
like
it felt really lovely, like a real conversation, but what are the key things that you always try to like weave into these conversations?
Yeah, so I have just written a few things down beforehand that I usually, and I'll give this to you as well, just as a few little pointers and things. So, and some of these you'll know already. So I always ask at the start, and you probably heard me just cross off all your confidentiality and legal and ethical considerations, whether the person's okay to use the name of the deceased, because sometimes it may not be culturally appropriate as well. And if it's not, they'll usually tell you, and you can actually ask them, how would you prefer me to refer to that person, or would you prefer not to refer to that person and maybe speak directly to the grief rather than referring about the person. Really important that you don't tell people how they should be feeling, or how long they should be feeling it, or what they should do. It's really just having that understanding that it's their own journey and that you're just there to support them through it. You can offer suggestions or validate that those sorts of feelings are normal, but just never negate them, because you can't negate someone's specific feelings. It's always good to discuss organisations that specialise in supporting grieving people like Rachel. So there might be age-specific organisations like the one I suggested for Sasha and her brother and sister, or they might be quite general adult-based ones. So it's good just to actually do a bit of research, and you've probably done it through your course as well, having a bit of a go-to list of places, and if you go work somewhere else, to find out where in your local area you can tap into as well. Sometimes it's hard to sort of pause every now and then, or make sure that the person that you're talking to is following along with you, and that silence is sometimes okay. You don't always have to keep feeling that. But just making sure that they're following along with what you're saying, and taking into consideration their age or their level of understanding, what's their first language, those sorts of cultural considerations as well. And just checking in with the person that you're talking to, and making sure that the information that you provided is clear, and whether you need to clarify anything. So I did that a couple of times with Rachel, just to see if she needed me to clarify or go back over anything as well. It's really helpful to have some written information about some of the resources and the services that you're offering. So you might have some brochures on hand. So I had a few of brochures that I use quite often in a file that I could pass on, but I didn't have some others that were specific to her situation. So being able to offer for her to look them up, or I could help her look them up, or I could print some stuff out and provide them for her at a later date. I could probably email them to her as well, so that's just another consideration as well.
Yeah, because she was quite
Yeah.
online savvy.
All these old people, they're getting a little bit tech savvy these days. So at the end, I just try to say something like, feel free to arrange a chat anytime during my working hours, if you'd like to talk or get any more information. So it just sort of shows that there's an open dialogue if they need to as well. But just also being mindful of the time, because some clients, especially some of your older clients, can sometimes get a little bit chatty as well, and you can get a bit caught for longer than you anticipate. And if you've got a schedule of visits and stuff for the day.
So that's why you flagged at the beginning of the conversation that you're here for an hour and you would keep it all the time.
Yeah. Okay. Otherwise, that hour can just go by, and so I like to sort of get it out there at the start, and clarify it right from the get go that we've got an hour, give or take sometimes 5-10 minutes as well.
Yeah.
And if I find that there's more information that we haven't really covered, then that's a time where I would organise to come back another time as well. And sometimes even make some notes that, you've brought up a few different things here. I'm just going to make some notes for myself that we can bring that and touch up on that next time. And I guess other things mainly to look at is just your self-care stuff, being mindful of that working with bereaved people puts you at risk of compassion fatigue and vicarious trauma and burnout. So there's different signs to look out for. So if you're feeling emotionally drained, exhausted, mentally exhausted, you feel like you're just not as compassionate a person as you usually are. If you're feeling deeply affected by the grief or the trauma of others, I mean, I've had it before as well, where you just feel like you're completely burnt out and you just haven't got anything left to give. And you need to actually just be mindful of that. Sometimes step away for a little while, maybe organise a holiday, and just remembering your self-care strategies. You've probably had this drilled into you before: rest, relaxation, exercise, nutrition, talking to others. So find a trusted colleague, using self-reflection strategies. So I find really helpful is just to write in a journal and just being mindful of privacy and confidentiality and not using any client names or identifying details. But journaling things can help as well. And just basically being aware of and respecting your own limits. So that's just a few little pointers moving forward. But I've already had a look at your resume and things and seen a bit of what you do. So I think you're going to be super.
Great. Thank you.